Previously on LSFR.
I responded to a house fire.
It looks like it's been written in blood.
Let's go away, Merle Abraham.
This is the place.
He looked like he was gonna do something bad.
It comes up as Davis.
Turns out the individual that bought the jerry can gonna be the son of the individual that died. You guys take the left side, we'll take the right. FIB!
My dad called me and said that he knows that you guys were on your way over here.
Deputies are encountering shots fired. Hey team, we have a vehicle taking off. FIB, step out! Davis, stop! FIB, stop! It's over, man, you're caught. I will do the best I can, okay? Which islands were you talking about?
Oh, okay.
Hey, Sheriff, we got one.
I'm gonna see my kids and I'm already going to jail. A better life knowing that I'm in jail with my children and wondering why.
Unfortunately, didn't have to resort to this. The rest is gonna have to be handled in court. And now for the continuation of LSFR.
All rise for the Honorable Judge presiding.
You may be seated. The County of Los Santos versus Davis Abraham. How do you find your defendant?
Your Honor, I find my defendant not guilty on the account that there have been tests placed on him in which have proven that he does have a few mental disabilities. He is not completely correct in the head, which may have led him to perform his actions that he did on that day. Therefore, I do request that the jury and the judge consider sending him to a mental health evaluation center where he can be evaluated and helped and released back onto the street.
Objection, Your Honor.
Denied.
Your Honor, may the prosecution speak?
Yes.
Alright, Your Honor. I wanted to object what the defense stated. The reason for Mr. Abraham conducting the horrific crimes that he did was to follow his father's legacy. The FIB have determined that his father was a previous serial killer before committing suicide in prison.
Objection.
Denied.
And Mr. Abraham is just following in his father's legacy. He did murder and kidnap 8 girls who we've all located, well, correction, not who we. The FIB have located their bodies at the beach in Paleto Bay. So Mr. Abraham does have 2 children who are now in foster care due to his actions. However, I did believe the FIB did cut a deal with him stating that if he did show them where the bodies were, then he would have a reduced sentence.
The defendant, do you have anything to say?
Well, as the defense lawyer, I do want to restate that I did I want to define my objection earlier as the subject to relevance. Past characters cannot be brought up in the court as it is not relevant to this case here, unless his father had any kind of key role in this situation. But in the defense of my client here, I believe that again he did have mental instabilities, and again he should not be sentenced to a federal prison where he can occasionally have another relapse and or end up hurting himself and or somebody that works in the prison.
Objection, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I'd like to state that every individual is accountable for their actions. The defense is stating that Mr. Abraham does have a mental condition. However, it didn't state nothing on his records of that, unless we've missed that, but I would like written documents from a doctor's or the medical department advising that or confirming that.
Lawyer of the defendant, do you have anything to say?
Well, Your Honor, to be honest, there wouldn't really be a way to get that in written paper unless we were to postpone this sentencing, which we are more than happy to partake in. But until then, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't be able to continue with, again, you know, he was not in his right mind. Right? We should not be sentencing a crazy guy to prison where, again, he can do this again, in which, again, his mental health will be shown, in which it would be better if we were to put him in a more secure facility instead of a prison where he can be harassed and or antagonized to do something he does not want to do.
Your Honor, if I may add, Mr. Abraham did have all the time to seek the proper medical attention if he does have a illness which caused him to conduct these horrific crimes like I stated. However, it's been a week's time since he's been conducting these murders. He had more than enough time to seek medical attention for his problem, which he failed to do. And if we do just allow him to go into a secured facility or a mental institution, that's just going to give him an opportunity to escape and then reconduct these crimes again, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'd also like to state
Order.
that you can a person cannot
Order
know
in the court.
that they are. All right.
Your Honor, can I bring a witness to the stand?
Yes, you can.
Alright, just 1 minute, please. I'd like to call my first witness. It's going to be a Mustang Abraham. It's going to be the son of Mr. Davis Abraham. Hello, Mustang. How are you? Alright, could you tell me a little bit about your father or his behavior for the past couple of weeks? Did you notice anything different about him or anything off?
Father has been really crazy.
Alright, could you define crazy?
Like, one night he just got mad and threw the table chair over.
Okay. Has your father ever hit you or your brother?
Yes.
Okay, what did he hit you guys with?
He he threw a baseball at me. Black guy. I had a black eye for a long time.
How long ago was this?
About a month ago.
Okay. Now, can I ask if your father, or if you're aware if your father has any mental illnesses?
Not that I knew of.
Not that you know of. How close are you with your father?
We were very close.
Okay.
Camping together. We used to go fishing. Now that's not gonna happen anymore.
Alright, has your father ever consumed any narcotics?
Objection.
Go ahead.
We cannot currently prove that the suspect has been under the influence of any drugs, therefore this question is irrelevant to the case.
Objection, Your Honor.
Denied.
Okay, let me state a different question. Now, when your father threw the baseball bat or the baseball at you, did he ever take you to the hospital or the doctors get that checked out?
No, he said, "Don't be a baby, suck it up," and then walked away.
Okay. Now, do you know if your father has taken any medication or, like I said before regarding the question about the mental illness, does he take medication?
Yes.
Okay, do you know what kind by any chance?
No, I never knew the name.
Okay. Alright, I'm just gonna have you there. The defense might have a couple questions for you.
All right. Your Honor, permission to approach the witness? Okay, yeah. All right. You said you were his son. You were really close with him. Am I correct in stating that?
Yes.
Okay. And how old are you?
I'm 16.
16? Okay. You said your father's been abusive towards you for a while. How long's a while?
Probably 2 to 3 months.
So he's only been aggressive towards you in these past 2 or 3 months.
Yes.
Okay. So within those 2 or 3 months, how often did you see him?
Probably 5 times.
A week?
Is
A day? Or during the
probably
whole
5
span
times
of
a
3
week.
months? 5 times a week? Okay. Now, are your parents divorced? Is that why you see him so, like, not frequent, I guess you could say?
Well, my mother died of ovarian cancer when I was 5.
Okay, so you do live with him. Am I correct in saying that? Okay. And you only see him 5 specific times a week. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes.
Okay. I believe that this should be proof to the court that he has not been around his son enough to have enough assault cases for that.
Objection, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
Just because the defendant has not been around his son, or sorry, only been in contact with his son 5 times out of the 2 or 3 months, that does not mean that assaulting him is 1 time even is not enough. Plus, we don't know where he was those other times. I am not aware if the defendant, Mr. Davis, does work or what he does for those times. He could have been conducting any more horrific crimes that we don't know about.
Well, the thing about that is that's not that much of a gap between seeing each other. And of all those times in seeing each other, there's only been 1 occurrence. 1. Okay? So, I believe that with the state that he was in, his mental disability had taken a kind of effect to where he was not able to control it with his pills, in which he did act out aggressively and was aggressive towards the officers. I believe that this is not a constantly occurring thing, so therefore I do stick with my proposed sentence of a few months in a psychiatric ward.
Objection.
Denied. If you don't mind me asking, Mustang, did your dad ever be aggressive to your mom?
Not that I remember. I mean, it's around 5 years of my life.
You may continue on.
So in seeing that, we do also notice that the defendant wasn't aggressive towards all of his family members.
Objection, Your Honor.
This incident only happened very few times, in which there are situations in which the people cannot pay for their medication. Maybe they run out. This is most likely one of those incidences where he was not able to take his pills, he was not able to control himself in the manner that he was, and he was provoked. Alright, therefore, again, I stick with my statement that he is mentally ill. He needs to be put into psychiatric ward. No further questions.
Your Honor, objection.
Go ahead.
May I add that the defense is changing what they stated from the beginning, or at the beginning. It does not. I noticed that it changed from Mr. Davis Abraham not being applied with the medication for his condition. However, it's more of now that he's not been taking the medication. With that said, he had all opportunity to take his medication, however, he chose not to. If that was the case, then he conducted these crimes at his own will. Okay, and we do not know for sure how much family members have been assaulted, as personally myself or the defense was not there, and we were not living with Mr. Davis Abraham.
You're the police, aren't you? Shouldn't you have records if something did occur?
Order in the court. Mustang, you may go back to your seat.
Your Honor, may I mention something real quick?
Go ahead.
In looking at my client's previous cases, there have been incidences to where he was harassed by his father. This could be basically a traumatization act in which, again, his medication was not in use, in which he was provoked by that traumatization, which provoked him to do this. Now, I don't see any other evidence saying that he is not at least some kind of mentally ill.
May I please see the may I please see those papers?
Permission to approach the stand?
Just put them on my desk, please. And yes.
Now, Your Honor, those are the police reports filed from the nights that he was abused by his father. These are not from the. These are not regarding my client right here, but it is regarding his father. Now, as you may notice in each of those reports, there is a report from this young gentleman right here. Now, what that basically says is that he has gone through some traumatizing events, in which you may also notice that from his reports, there are no records of psychiatric help. So, basically, in all essence, they said he was They said he was traumatized. They gave him a pill and they forgot about him. Does that not give you any more reason to see why this man should not be helped?
I understand just a little bit more.
Your Honor, if I may.
Go ahead.
The defense is bringing up past relevance, and can I also add, if we could just draw the attention of the court to the case of where Mr. Davis Abraham shot at local deputies and then shooting at them again. Fortunately, no one was hurt or injured at this time. However, I did have a report from the FIB after further investigation that the weapon was stolen. Now, regarding Mr. Abraham's wife, she did file for divorce multiple times. However, it has been rejected by the court. Shortly after she died, it was claimed that it was cancer. However, that is unconfirmed. If it's fair to say, Your Honor, there is a good chance that Mr. Abraham was the one that killed his wife and not the cause of cancer.
Whoa. Hold on. His wife was examined by a professional coroner. The coroner did diagnose that my client's wife was killed by cancer.
Objection, Your Honor.
Why you're bringing his wife's death up in court does not even comply with thoughts that are going in my head right now.
With all due respect, Counselor, it does.
All you're doing is stressing my client out even more by bringing up past events in which happened with his wife. You're not helping anything right now.
Order in the court.
Your Honor, if I may.
Thank you, but no. Any more witnesses called to the stand?
No, Your Honor.
Has the jury reached the verdict?
Oh, we found the defendant guilty.
Davis Abraham, you were placed under arrest of firing at police, evading police, and murder, and child abuse.
Your Honor, permission to speak to my client before he is taken away in a private room.
Denied.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would just like to add that the families of the victims can now sleep in peace knowing that Mr. Abraham has gotten justice. I don't think it's fair that they suffered through that just because someone is suffering from mental illness and chose to not take their medications.
The court is now adjourned.
This isn't the end of this. I hope you know that.
Yes.
Talking to me?
Excuse me, Your Honor, I would just like to point out that the counselor just made a threat towards me.
That was not a threat.
What did he say?
He just advised that this is not the end of this.
There are several more court cases.